good afternoon. I realize it has been a long time since I've done a tutorial. I'm coming on today to do another one sheet wonder tutorial. I absolutely love making these. I love taking one entire piece of 12 by 12 paper and having a bunch of things come out of it. So I'm going to show you first what we will be making. Of course, we're going to use some different paper than what you see here. I let my daughter pick out this paper for us. She said that this is the one that we should do, the flowers. And but this is the type of paper that I used from this one. Look, in fact, let me see if I can show you what that looked like originally. I thought I had another sheet of it left. Maybe I didn't. Oh yes, I did. So this is the paper that I started with for this project right here. But anyways, so from that one piece of 12 by 12 paper, we have a little tiny notebook. These are I like to make these are the 2.5 by 3 inch, 2.5 by 3 inch little notebooks. I have had these in my Etsy shop several times. These are fantastic if you just want to take them and throw them in your purse. I like to have these with me for jotting down quick notes or phone numbers or reminders, just things like that. So that is what I came up with. That made the front and back cover. I also made one of these little, let me pull that out. I did stitch around this. I don't normally stitch around my envelopes, but I thought it was really cool. This is just a little envelope with a little angel clip. And then 2 corner pockets. As you can see, you can put them on a page like this. And these are stitched around. I also have one of these tags. And then I have one of these double layered pockets. So what you would do is you would glue on this side down there at the bottom and then on that side and attach it to your page. And you've got a pocket right here and of course the bigger pocket. I also made this. This is a faux envelope. It actually folds open into a journaling spot. I know several crafters here on YouTube have made this. My first place I saw this was Treasure Books here on YouTube. So there's that. I also made just a simple journaling card. You could write on the back. I did stitch around it just to add a little bit something extra. There's a smaller tag, and then I've been calling these art journals. I'm not really sure what to call them. I just know that I used a thicker like cardstock for the pages, so you could use like gel pens. They probably wouldn't bleed through. But this is just a laminated cover and then a simple back, chipboard back. So that's what we are going to make right now. So stay tuned. Okay, so instead of listing off every single thing that I need, I might try to do that in the notes, what you need for each of the projects. We're going to start by just doing the simple cutting. So I'll tell you how to cut up all your papers, and then as we work through the projects, I'll tell you the different parts, the different things that you'll need to complete it. So let me go ahead and cut this down to 12 because this has a little at the top. Okay, there we go. So the first cut you want to make is going to be at 5 inches. So scoot it all the way up to the 5-inch mark and slice. Okay. All right, so with this 5-inch piece, the 5 by 12, we're gonna cut off to, first of all, let's flip it over this way because that part, all right, so cut it 4 inches. So this is gonna be your 4 by 5 inch laminated cover. So set that to the side. The next thing we're gonna cut is at 5 by 5. And this is the piece we're gonna turn into an envelope. So set that to the side. And then you are left with a 3-inch by 5-inch piece. And we are going to turn this into a 2 by 3 inch tag. So right here, cut it 2 inches, and then you have this 3 by 3 inch piece. We are going to slice it right down that way to make a the little corner pockets, but we won't do that yet. Let's wait on that part so we don't lose the pieces. Okay, and then the next piece you are left with a 7-inch by 12-inch piece. Go ahead and slice first of all at 3 inches. All right, so this is going to be the little faux envelope journaling spot that folds down, and I'll show you how to do that. And then we have this piece is going to be a little bit tricky, but we're going to turn it back over this way. And so this is have the long side as the side you're going to cut on. Cut it at 3 inches. Okay. So this is the 3 by 9. Okay. So with your 3 by 9 inch piece, since it's already on here, we'll just keep it there. Let's cut it at 4 inch. That's going to be our journaling card. All right, so our 3 by 4 inch journaling card. And then this is our 3 by 5 inch piece. This is going to become a layered pocket, but let's just leave it like this for now so we don't lose the pieces. And then you're going to cut 2 pieces off of this leftover slice. So this should be 4 inches by how long is this? 4 inches by 9 inches. So cut 2 off that measure 3.5 by 4 inches. So that's 1 and 2. Okay, these are going to be to make the covers for your little tiny notebook. And then we are left with a 2 inch by 4 inch piece. This is going to become a tag, okay? Okay, so now comes the most satisfying part of this whole project, is actually working with the individual pieces. So this is our 5 by 5 inch piece. This is going to be a little envelope. You can either make this, if you have your envelope punch board, you can either do the gift card size, which is a 2 by 3.5 inch, or you can do a 2.5 by 3 inch. For this one, I did a gift card size. I think I'm going to go ahead and just do it the same, just to keep it very similar. Okay, so it says to score at 2 inches. So I'm going to go ahead and hit the button and then start to score it. This, I don't ever use this punch board. I usually use my mini one. So let's do it. I just find this so fun to see the pieces actually coming together and getting finished. So I'm probably going to do some things off camera, such as the sewing and maybe a little bit of the decorating, just so that this video isn't 10 hours long. Just kidding, it doesn't take 10 hours to do this, but okay. So I just got my score marks. I did score a little bit too hard right there, but that's okay. You're not even going to notice because I'm going to ink and I will sew on it. So let's go ahead and fold it up. Now, as you can see, this paper, I don't know why the bottom of it has, I guess it was a misprint on this paper pad, but I'm not too worried about that. That's not that big of a deal. You're not even going to notice it once we do the, now why did it not work like that? Okay, maybe I just need to punch it. Anyways, that's not even going to be really noticed too much once I ink it. I'll probably just use like a dark ink to ink around it, just so that it's even less noticeable. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and finish this off camera and then show you what it looks like. Okay, so I finished my little envelope. I added this little Tim Holtz metal piece to the front. It's a little flower. I ended up doing some black stitching around it. At first, I was not crazy at all about how the black ink looked, but once I added the black stitching, I felt like it looked pretty good. So this piece is done. So now we're going to move on to the next piece. Let's see. Let's go ahead and do the tag. So grab your piece that is 2 inches by 3 inches and your piece that is 2 inches by 4 inches. So let me see if I can, oh yes, here it is. There we go. And these things are great for just tucking down inside of pockets, and we are making a couple pockets, so if you wanted them to be all matchy-matchy, that is a good option for you. So what you need to do for these is however you enjoy doing your tags. If you like to do like I did here and just cut the little tips off the corners, that's a good idea. If you like to round the bottoms, round the bottoms. In addition to that, if you see, I did these 2 different ways. I used some seam binding on this one and a little eyelet at the top in the middle. And then for this one, I just took some lace, folded it over, and then put a little pearl right there in the middle. So 2 different ways to do some tags. That's how I did these. This time I'm going to use this black seam binding since I'm doing black stitching around it. And I'm going to ink the edge around it. I am using Black Soot by Tim Holtz, and I need to grab I have a corner chomper thing that does this at the top. I know some people have die cuts, some people have just little paper punches that'll punch the top of it for you. So whatever you do to make your tags, go ahead and do that with these two pieces. And however you like to embellish, go ahead and do that. And then I'll bring you back and show you what I did to mine. Okay, so it's actually been a couple days since I did my last little portion of the video, so my nails look different. But anyway, so far we have completed this and we've completed the two tags. Right now I want to go ahead and grab my piece that measures, this is what, 3 by 7, and this is going to be the little fold down note like this. I didn't do any stitching on this one, but I think I want to on this one just to add to, since we have it on these two things, I just feel like it's going to add to it a little bit more. So plus the black really stands out on the pink, so in order to keep it cohesive, I'm going to do a little bit of stitching on here. But in order to make this piece, it's very, very simple if you've never seen these made before. What you do is you take two corners and fold them down together to meet in the middle, or as close to the middle as you can. Honestly, I never get these perfect, and it's really hard to do it if you're using cardstock designer paper, which is what this is. It's like a lightweight cardstock. So I'm just going to do the best I can. Sorry if I take this out of the frame a little bit. Let's go ahead and try to get these to meet as close as we can. Okay, so once you make that, the next thing you can do is you're going to fold the bottom part up to wherever you want it, however far up you want it. So we're going to end up folding that part over. So I think I want mine about right there. And then the next part, you just fold this part down on top. You can either leave a little space up here at the top, or you can just fold it down as close as you want. I am going to just fold it right there. So then once that part is complete, you can go ahead and glue down these top two pieces. So let me use my glue. This is the only one I have at hand, otherwise I would not be using this glue because it's a little bit expensive. But anyways, so we'll glue that down. Okay, and then I'm going to take this to my sewing machine and I am going to sew around it, and then I'll be right back. And I'm not sure what piece I want to put, like I did that piece right there, that little pearl, faux pearl. So I'm going to see if I have any more of these little metal pieces, and I might use one of these for like just a little bit of an added decoration. But anyways, that's that piece. Okay, so what we have now, I did complete, that's the envelope. Okay, I did complete this part right here. I stitched around it. I added this little metal flower, and that's what the inside looks like. I did ink around the edges too. I forgot to do that on camera. And then I just grabbed this little Tim Holtz, is this a bulldog clip? I'm not sure what it is, but anyways, that little clip right there to go on the top, and then I can clip it in the page with that. So we are moving right along. The next size piece you are going to need is the 3 by 5 piece. Let me see. It's a little bit harder to tell which piece is which now. I know these are my cover pieces because they're identical. This one is my 4 by 5 laminated cover piece. This is the corner pocket piece. We'll work with that one next. And this is our 3 by 5 piece. This is this smaller 3 by 4 piece. This is going to be a journaling card, so we'll do those two next. Anyways, so what you're going to need for this part is you're going to need your paper trimmer out again. I have this small Fiskars guillotine cutter. This is just nice to use for smaller pieces such as this. It's convenient to carry around. So I am going to use this. You are also going to need some little bits of either ephemera or torn edges, whatever you would like to use to decorate the bottom of the pocket. And you are also going to need a little, I guess, a hole punch. I used a big 1.5 inch hole punch. In fact, I need to grab that, so I will grab that here in just a minute to cut the edges off. But let's go ahead and cut the pocket down to the size that we are going to need, and we can start inking around the edges. So for your 3 by 5, I would recommend cutting at, what was it, 2 inches? Yeah, I think it's 2 inches. So we'll cut it 2 inches and see how that lines up. Okay, so yes, that's perfect. And then, yeah, let's go ahead and ink around the edges. So that's the size that we want it at. And I'm gonna put this here because that's our inspiration for right now. So this is, I'm using black soot. I got these little finger dauber things on Amazon. But I do prefer using the bigger ones because I feel like it takes forever to ink around the edges with these. I bought a bunch of these because I can use all the different colors, one for each of the colors I have. Okay, and I am going to go ahead and ink the whole thing, although I am going to have to hole punch it and then do it all over again. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do off camera, I'm going to go ahead and line these up. So what I do is I just line them up like this, and then I try to find the center the best I can, and I just click through both of them so that they're even. I hole punch through both of them, I should say. So I'm going to do that part off camera, and then I'm going to go ahead and glue them like this. Remember to only put glue on the U shape of it, and then attach them together, and I'm going to run mine through the sewing machine. So in fact, I'm going to do that off camera, and I will be right back. Okay, so I went ahead and I sewed around the edge of this completely, and I did add a little bit of this lace down at the bottom. Now what I'm going to do is just kind of decorate this a little bit. I have some sheet music paper right here. I'm just going to tear a little bit off and see how that looks. Let's tear a little bit more off. I'm going to tear it around the edge. Okay. And let's ink that a little bit. I know I wanted to use this little, looks like mother and son. And I kind of also, do I want to do that? I'll keep some color on there. Okay, yeah, I think I want to do that. I think I want to keep a little bit of the pink color on there. This project, it does seem like it's a lot, but honestly, it comes together pretty quickly, especially once you know what you're going to do. Like, if you keep the decorating very similar, it doesn't take a whole lot of time at all. It's such a fun way to use up every single piece of paper. And I don't know if I mentioned earlier, but for that first little envelope that I made, you don't have to have the envelope punch board to make that. Honestly, there are so many folding tutorials and stuff out there of how people can just fold envelopes without having that and using your just regular scoreboard. So you don't have to follow the exact formula or the exact way that I do things. So like even with making those little journals that we're going to make, I have the cinch machine, the cinch binding tool, and that's how I'm going to make these. But you can easily just put a hole punch and just use a ring to just bind it all together. And the same with the other one. You could put a couple rings in it or however you'd like. But I definitely wouldn't recommend going to just buy a tool just to try to make this, especially when there's so many other options. I'm just using what I have. And I'm really, my goal this year is to really use up some of the materials I have, so. Excuse me. Okay, so now what we're going to do is, I would say that's pretty good, that's complete. The only other thing I might do is I might add something over here, maybe another one of those metal pieces just to keep things cohesive and together. So let's go ahead and put that one to the side. You have a double pocket, so whenever you glue this in a journal, you can just put glue on the two sides and the bottom, of course, and you'll have a double pocket. So, all right, that's another piece that's done. Let's go ahead, and this one will be fast. Let's do the, grab your little 3x3 piece, and we are going to make the corner pockets. So you could either do this one of two ways. You could either have it as just one pocket by folding these two edges together and making it like that, and then when you glue it in your journal, you just add the glue to the two sides, and then this part folds up and you can have a journaling spot and a pocket. Or you could do like what I have done. Let me move these pieces out of the way. I'm trying to, like, once we work an item, do an item, I just try to move it over to the side. You could do like this, where now I have two corner pockets that I could use in different spots in my journal. So I'm going to do it like I did this one. So in order to do it that way, what you need to do is just take your little pocket piece and try to put it on your scoreboard where the edges are exactly on the edge. And slice through. And then now we have two pieces. And we cut them pretty good. I don't know why this little black line drives me absolutely insane from the misprint of this paper. So it's really bugging me. So I'm gonna definitely ink around the edges. All right. Hopefully get this all done. And as you can see, I left the other one pretty simple. The only thing I did was I added a little bit of lace and I sewed around it. And that's pretty quick. And of course, if you don't like to sew, you do not have to sew around it. You could just easily glue your piece on and be done with it. It adds a lot of, it does add extra time, but I just absolutely love the look of sewing. I've been sewing through a lot of my projects here lately because I love how it looks. Do you like how it looks, Evelyn?
Yeah.
Yeah, it looks pretty, doesn't it? Okay, and so I'm going to use the same lace that I used on here. I got that from Hobby Lobby. So I'm going to do that part of this project and I will be right back. In fact, you know what I'm going to go ahead and do? I made this little just journaling card. It's very simple. All I did was ink around the edge. I did corner chop the edges because it's very square. But if you like that look, leave it how it is. In fact, you know what? I think I'm going to do this one that way. I think I'm not going to corner around the edges. I'm going to just leave it perfectly rectangular. But anyway, so I'm going to ink this. And while I'm at the sewing machine, I may as well do them both. Now, I have made these where I might do that actually. I have made them where I add like a little ruffle at the top with ribbon or with some fabric scraps. So I might look in my stash real quick and see if I can find a fabric scrap that'll go with this theme that I'm working with, black florals, and sew it while I'm at it. Anyways, I'll be right back. Okay, so I have that part finished. These are what I have. I may end up trimming this part off because I'm not sure how I feel about it sticking off. But anyways, I did add the trim to those two. I sewed around the edge. I added a little ruffle to the top of this one just to add a little bit of interest. And then now we are going to work on these pieces. So how I made this little 2.5 by 3 inch little mini notebook, and then also I'm calling this an art journal. So for this, what you're going to need is you're going to need some sort of binding. So if you want to do the ring binding, or if you want to do the cinch binding like I have, however you prefer to do it. You're also going to need 2 pieces of chipboard that measure 2.5 by 3 inches. And so right here, for this, since these are so small, I mainly use just like scrap pieces. So as you can see here, I have a couple pieces that are scraps. And then let's measure how big this is. So yeah, this one's at this is 2.5 inches. So let me go ahead and trim this. I do have a dull blade in my trimmer. Very dull blade. I cannot, this one does need a little bit of going back and forth. Okay. Let's flip it over and do the other side. Okay, so there's that piece. And I do need more. And now for these little itty bitty pieces, always save these, because whenever you want to add dimension to your album, you can always pop these, like for the instance this. If I wanted that piece to have some dimension, I could always glue that on top of this, and then it would pop it up a little bit. So I do save all those little teeny tiny pieces of chipboard as well. So now I do need to cut another piece. And sorry if I hit that. All right. Okay, sorry about that. I did have a call come in that interrupted the video, so let me finish cutting this piece out. All right, so now I have the two pieces for the front and back cover of that. Now, for some reason, this is not looking... Oh, wonderful. Okay, that piece is not a 2.5 by 3 inch piece, so I'm going to have to find another piece. But I do have one cut off, and this piece I had already had cut down in my stash for a 4 by 5 inch. So this one is actually perfect, and I don't have to do anything to that. So anyways, I'm going to be right back after I find another piece to finish this. Okay, so now I have two pieces. I'm going to grab these pieces that measure, what is this measurement? 3.5 by 4 inches. So I try to make sure I have plenty of space all the way around it. So I'm going to glue these down. And for this piece, since this is just the backing of our art journal, you don't have to do anything to this except for hole punch it and add it to at the end. So you can set that piece aside. You won't use that till later. I try to go ahead and get all my pieces cut down, the cover's done, and then I go and cinch them all at the same time, so I don't have to keep going back and forth. But anyways, let's go ahead and glue these down. Let's just add wet glue. I am using art glitter glue. It is my favorite glue to use. Okay. Sorry about all the sliding. My 2-year-old thinks she has to sit right beside me instead of across from me. So she keeps moving the chair over and I move it back and she just puts it right back. So the struggles. I think it's almost nap time. All right, go ahead and fold these pieces up. You want to be careful not to cut super close. I do this all the time, cut super close to the corner, because then your paper does not meet and you've got a weird gap right at the corner on the back side. It is the inside of the cover, so it's not a huge deal if you're making this for yourself, but if you want to make it for a gift for somebody or even to sell, then you want it to look very nice.
Let's make it nice.
Let's make it nice. That's right.
This one's making nice too.
All right, so I'm hoping that, yes, these should be good.
That one's good.
Hopefully. You are going to need a smaller piece of 2.5 by 3 inch paper for the inside covers of this little journal. So I usually do about 2 1/4 by 2 3/4, I think, is the measurements I use. But I just try to go a little bit under what the actual cover size is. Now, I normally wouldn't sew through the cover of this. I might do it just because I'm really trying to keep that stitching the same. I did not sew through the cover of this one because the chipboard is a little bit thick and it makes it a little bit hard, but I think I am going to take this to the sewing machine and see how it does. The end is in sight. We have one more thing to do after this. Now for this one, what you're going to need is you're going to need about, what is it, 25 3x5 cards, and you're going to cut them in half to 2.5 by 3 inches, and that is where you get the pages to make this little tiny notebook. Okay. All right. Okay, so there are our covers. Let's go ahead and do the inking around it. Okay, all right, now what are we gonna do? Let's go ahead and work on our final piece, which is going to be the cover. And of course, since this is going to be a laminated piece, you do need to go ahead and decorate it before you run it through the laminator if you choose to laminate. Now, if you choose not to laminate, I would definitely recommend, if you're just using regular cards, that maybe layering this with a couple other pieces of paper. That way it's not so flimsy for a cover. You definitely want your covers to be sturdy and to be lasting. Excuse me. Sorry, I was moving a paper bag out of the way. So I have not grabbed any pieces of ephemera for this yet, so I might have to come back to this. So anyways, I do know I'm going to use some of the sheet music. Let's try to get it evened up. And I've really enjoyed using these. I've been using the Tim Holtz oxide sprays or distress stains, the spraying ones, and I really like how it looks whenever you just drip it across the page or rub it across the page. So I might end up doing that, and I'm probably going to use another one of these little Tim Holtz girls and see if I have any more of those little library card things. So anyways, I might go ahead and I'm gonna go ahead and stitch around this, and then I'm gonna find the pieces to finish this, and then I'll be right back. Okay, now I do not recommend sewing through chipboard with your sewing machine. It had a few issues, nothing too serious. It just, I was afraid my needle was gonna break because this is pretty thick chipboard. And also the thread did break one time, but I mean, it wasn't too big of a deal. I don't recommend it. Okay, so I really, like I just mentioned, I really do enjoy using this Distress Mica spray to just kind of, you know, drag along the papers and stuff. So what I'm going to do, I have not used this one before. It's called Brushed Pewter. So I'm going to go ahead and glue this. Well, actually, I'm going to ink around the edge first, and I'm going to kind of drip this around on this page before I do anything else, because it's going to take a minute for it to dry. So let's go ahead and get this done. But I do like how, whenever I have used this on other things, how it ended up looking. For this one, I ended up moving my paper before it was dried, and so it did leave like this dragging effect across, which it was no big deal, honestly. The pages already looked aged, and so I feel like it just made it look a little bit more aged. But I'm gonna do my best to let this completely dry before I run it through the laminator or do anything else with it. So let's just add the glue and lay this down. I found this little dictionary card that I'm going to include. The main word is local. So, all right, let's see. Why was it all bent up like that? What in the world? I don't remember my other ones being bent up like that, but maybe it was. Try not to get this everywhere. I usually get this everywhere. Okay, that looks kind of cool. All right. Oh, I forgot to ink around the whole thing, but that's okay. I can do that here in just a couple minutes. So I'm gonna set this to the side and let this dry a bit. Okay, and I am going to go ahead and ink around this while I'm thinking about it. And I'm probably gonna back this up on a darker piece of paper like I did for this one. I kind of want some drops on this too, actually. So let's go ahead and do just a couple. Okay, I am getting this all over my table. That's okay. Just leave that to the side and try to wipe some of this up with this piece of paper. Okay. Okay. Now I'm gonna bring these back over and go ahead and do the inside pieces. So I said earlier I try to do it, let's do a 1/4 inch shorter. And then I can save this to back that up on. And then this is going to be 2 1/4. And wow, that was pretty close. It could have been a little bit bigger, but that's okay. Let's go ahead. And I will decorate this last once I have already like bound it together with the papers that go on the inside, just because it's such a small little space to decorate around, and I like to kind of figure out how much space I have left after I have hole punched, because it takes up about 1/2 inch once you punch the holes. Okay, this is probably still not going to be dry yet. No, but I really like how that looks. I don't know if you can, let me try to. You're not gonna be able to tell. But anyways, it's got like this really cool shimmery look to it. Okay, so now what do we need to do? I need to let that finish. And this little girl is gonna sit on the front with that coming off. All right, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to trim down the pieces I need for the little tiny book. We'll go ahead and knock that out of the way. And then, you know, I can go ahead and just trim all the pages I need for that one too. So I'm not going to do that on camera just because that's going to be so boring. And I already told you the dimensions that you need, but, and I probably don't need to show you how to cut paper. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. And I will be right back. Hopefully this will be dry by the time I'm done. Okay, so this is dry now. So let me go ahead and ink around the edge of this. While I waited for that to dry, I went ahead and got this one bound. I cut 25 3x5 cards in half, so that gave me 50. That gives me 50 pages, 100 if you count them front and back. So that's pretty much done, minus the decorating. I did go ahead and also cut down the pages I would need for this. So I had some 4x8 cards. I don't know where they came from or if you can even buy them in that size anymore. These look pretty old. The color is more of like an off-white now than an actual white. But I went ahead and cut down 20 cards, so that gave me 40. That gives me 40 pages, 80 front and back for that. For this one, the laminated art journal. So let me finish doing this. Okay, so I am going to sew around this cover also, but I will do that after it has been laminated. But before I do the whole punching. So she's gonna rest right there. I do need to cut down a little piece for this. And I had this scrap. Let's see, what size is this? This is 2 1/8 by 1 3/8. So let's do Alright, let's do 2 3/8 by 1 5/8. Okay. Let's see how that looks. Okay. Yeah, this is a little bit more of a... Okay, so I inked around this edge and... Yep, I like that. My glue's getting stuck. Let's try that. Okay, so I have finally completed this project. I told my mom it has taken me the entire week to get this filming done just because of distractions, interruptions. We are going on a trip. So anyways, so I did go ahead and do this part off camera, just decorating the cover. I think the most important part of doing this is mainly the cutting guide of me showing you how to cut which item and what it goes to. The decoration to me is just everybody, I don't know, you can decorate however you want, and we're not going to decorate the same way. Nobody decorates the same way. So I did keep these very similar. I did not go with this heart on this one, and the reason because of the stitching. This heart kind of overlapped onto the stitching, and I didn't really want it to be that way. But other than that, I kind of kept the little lace and everything else just very similar. So that is what that item looks like. And then oh, I don't know if I showed this one. I'll have to go back and look at the videos. But anyways, this is what I ended up doing to this one. I did stitch around it just like I did for this one. I just used black stitching, but that's how that one ended up looking. And then for our fold down little journaling spot, I just did the clip up here, and that's what the inside looks like when you stitch around it. I did not stitch around this one, so that was something I did do differently this time. Also, I did not have a ruffle on the top of this one. I did add a ruffle right here. I do think that if I make it again, I might end up doing the ruffle again. I really like it. And then, so that's those two. For the tags, that's the difference between those two. Okay, and then journaling pocket, kept it pretty much the same. And then our corner pockets. And then last but not least, our little envelope. For this envelope, I did add just a teeny tiny Tim Holtz paper clip. Oops. Just to keep it closed, and then also to kind of just if you wanted to attach it to a page and be able to still use it without gluing it down, since I did stitch on that side. But anyways, so I hope you enjoyed that video. If you did enjoy it, I hope you'll give me a thumbs up and hit subscribe if you haven't done that already. I do plan on doing more of these. I absolutely love making these. I love doing the one sheet wonders and coming up with several projects from just one sheet of paper. So I will make more of these in the future. It just takes me so long to get the filming done. So that's why I don't do them very often. But I hope you enjoyed it. I hope it gave you inspiration. I hope you guys have a wonderful day. Take care.